Hello everypony, it's a winged unicorn and I have flown back with another video. And this video is particularly exciting because it's the Trolls Hot Takes video. Just want to give a quick thanks to everybody who sent in their hot takes. I really enjoyed reading them and I can't wait to get into them. And special thanks to Star56OUP who suggested that I make a Trolls Hot Takes video. I actually thought of making one a while ago, but now that you brought up the idea, I finally went ahead and went through with it. So thanks for giving me the idea. So anyways, basically how this video will work is just exactly how it sounds like. I'm going to be reading some of the comments that say their hot takes about the Trolls franchise, and I will say whether I agree or disagree, and possibly explain my commentary as to why I agree or disagree with the hot takes. And by the end of this video, I'll give some of my own. So anyways, let's get started. First one by ClayFan1995 has 3 hot takes, so we're going to go into each of them individually. Number 1 is Cloud Guy is overhated. This one I kind of have to agree. At least in the movies I feel like he's harmless, but I understand why people find him annoying because I guess he can be at times, and I never really cared for his character in general. He's never been one of my favorites. Besides, I think people usually give Cloud Guy a bad rep because of how he's portrayed in the shows. To which when it comes with the shows, I actually kind of agree when people say he's really annoying in the show because, well, he is. And his episodes were always one of my least favorites in the show. So while I do kind of agree with this first hot take, I also don't really blame people for hating Cloud Guy because, yeah, he is kind of irritating in the show, and he was always like my least favorite character in the show. So the second hot take reads, Trollstopia is better than Beat Goes On. This one I wouldn't know because I still haven't seen Trollstopia. However, from what I've seen from the fandom is that they think that Trollstopia is actually worse than Beat Goes On, and people just prefer Beat Goes On in general. So I wouldn't know. And their last hot take is, if DreamWorks makes a 4th Trolls film, all the new characters that introduced from the shows should appear, and if Velvet and Veneer come back, they should get a redemption arc. Okay, first of all, that last one is actually 2 hot takes. So let's start with the first half of that hot take. So when it comes to the new characters from the shows and if they should appear in the movies, I actually fully agree with this one. We did get a taste of it when it comes to Val and Holly because they appeared in Trolls Holiday and Harmony, and I thought it was a cute little Easter egg, especially for the people who have watched Trollstopia. So yeah, I'm not against them coming back in the movies, even if it's just a little cameo. I think that would be, cool. And for the second part, if Velvet and Veneer come back, they should get a redemption arc. This one I'm kind of indifferent to, just because Velvet and Veneer have already been done and over with in the last movie. So I don't really know what to really do with them from here on out. Now, if the writers can create something, creative enough to justify their existence of them even coming back and even getting that redemption arc you're speaking of, then I'm all for it. But right now, I'm not really, into Velvet and Veneer coming back. Like, they're done and over with. I don't really need to see them again. They fulfilled their roles, and, the franchise is just done with them for now. So yeah, for that second half, I'm kind of indifferent too. BinFox23 says, Poppy's not a bad character and usually means well with her intentions. Yeah, I really don't like the Poppy is annoying or the Poppy is a bad character takes. Not to mention she grew as the movies went along. I'm thinking of the scene where she went after Branch after leaving his brothers after that fight in Band Together. I absolutely agree with this take. Poppy, I feel, has always been a misunderstood character by all the people who watched the Trolls films and even by the fandom itself. And I feel you're 100% right in the aspect that Poppy does grow as a character, and that's kind of the whole point of her character. Yeah, she had a naive philosophy in the beginning of the first movie where everybody should be happy all the time. But this philosophy of hers was challenged in the first movie when Creek betrayed her and the other trolls. Just goes to show that, in a way, both Poppy and Branch were right in their worldviews. Poppy is correct that anybody can find happiness, you just need someone to help you find it, but Branch is also correct in saying that bad things happen, because, yeah, bad things do happen. And by the time Poppy learned this the hard way, she herself admits to Branch that he was right, that the world isn't all cupcakes and rainbows. But she's also correct because that Branch was able to find his own happiness and was able to help Poppy in her time of need. And even from the movies onward, she's still learning, and that's never a bad thing for a character to do. For all the other mistakes that she has to work on herself with, i.e. the fact that she doesn't really listen to others and she just does what she wants to hear, that was fixed in World Tour. And even in the third movie, she still learns, like trying to learn how Branch feels in terms of his siblings. Once she grows to understand, once she finds out she has her own sibling and she gets to have a taste of what it's like to have one. Overall, what I'm trying to say is Poppy isn't perfect, and she doesn't need to be, nor does the movie pretend that she is. The important thing is that she's learning, and she keeps these lessons to heart. And you're 100% right in that saying that she's not a bad character because of this. If anything, it makes her a pretty decent character. The fact that she's learning and growing from her past mistakes makes her a better character than people give her credit for. Star56 OUP has 3 hot takes. The first one reads, Trolls The Beat Goes On and Trolltopia are better than the first 2 Trolls films. Ooh, okay, now this is a hot take because I disagree. So it's not that the shows are bad, they can be entertaining, and I give a lot of props to the show for giving the other characters screen time as opposed to the movies who didn't really have time to do that, but I personally like the movies more than the shows. Just because it's the movies that really made me fall in love with the franchise in the first place, and also just because I feel like the movies are just better in terms of the characters, and I personally like to stick to the OG. So fortunately I have to disagree with that one, but good hot take either way. The second one says Poppy and Viva are the most overhated DreamWorks animation characters. This one I wouldn't know because I don't know what other characters people hate in the DreamWorks catalog, but I will say that yeah, I guess people do give Poppy and Viva a lot of slack, which I have to say usually isn't warranted, especially when it comes to Poppy, because like I said in the last hot take, she is growing as a person, and I think people should really cut her some slack in that aspect. When it comes to Viva, people are usually referring to how Viva is kind of an unnecessary inclusion, and while I was conscious of her existence beforehand, I did end up liking Viva for what she was, and I feel like she ties into the story decently enough, especially when it comes to Poppy's character and her growth in Trolls Band Together, and how she fits in with the overall Trolls and Bergen situation, specifically with King Peppy. And overall, I just like Viva's cute and charming personality. She's very fun and sweet. So overall, I have to agree with this one. In terms of Poppy and Viva themselves as characters, when it comes to other DreamWorks animation characters, I wouldn't know. I don't know if there's any characters that people tend to hate more than Poppy and Viva, which I'm pretty sure there are, I just can't name them at the moment. And the third one says Trolltopia is overhated. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't know because I haven't seen Trolltopia, so yeah, not much to say with that last one. Puss in Boots The Last Wish fan says, I don't think Poppy is annoying, she's just optimistic and needed to learn that people don't have to be happy all the time. This I also agree with. Like I said earlier, she just needed to learn that not everything has to be cupcakes and rainbows all the time. And I also agree with the fact that, I don't think Poppy is annoying either, especially because she's one of my favorite characters, so this might be some bias talking. I think Poppy in general is just awesome just for being herself. So yeah, I have to agree with this take a lot. Ashlyn7841 says, I don't want the other Trolls villains to return, with the only exception being Queen Barb. So this might surprise many of you, but I actually 100% agree with this. When it comes to the other villains, they were kind of done and over with. Like I said earlier, Velvet and Veneer was pretty much done and over with, so I don't really care if the writers bring them back or not. And same with Chef and Creek, they're pretty much done and over with. And all the Bergens are pretty much reformed and they don't want to eat trolls anymore. So Chef coming back, unless if you can think of something creative, I prefer if they just don't come back. And besides, they're pretty much dead at the end of the first movie, so I wouldn't know how they would even come back in the first place. But when it comes to Queen Barb, it's not just her, but all the other troll tribes pretty much, add on to the story because it shows how big the Trolls universe is, and it could make for some good stories in the future. So not only just Queen Barb, but the rest of the troll tribes can easily come back. Besides also the fact I really like Barb as a character, and I wouldn't mind if she were to come back, but I mean, that's just me, it's just whatever. Overall, solid hot take. Your local Aussie Weep says, my hot take is that I personally think Trolls is the best DreamWorks franchise. Okay, you are brave for saying this. However, I am 50-50 on this. There's a difference between what's the best and which is your favorite. For me personally, Trolls is definitely one of my favorite DreamWorks franchises, and I'm not ashamed to say that. Like, I am completely 100% okay with me just going up to people and saying, hey, Trolls is definitely one of my favorites in the DreamWorks catalog. However, when it comes to Trolls being the best DreamWorks franchise, I don't know if it is. Objectively speaking, Trolls does have a few flaws that a lot of people could probably be turned off to. However, as a fan of this franchise, these flaws don't really hinder my experience with said franchise, but it does for other people, and that's okay. So in terms of that, I don't really know if people can really consider Trolls as the best DreamWorks franchise. For me, I can definitely say that either Shrek or Kung Fu Panda are one of the best DreamWorks franchises. Besides, I like those franchises too, so I wouldn't mind saying that they're also the best DreamWorks franchises. So I'm 50-50 on this. Trolls is definitely one of my favorites though, and I have no shame in saying that. Okay, so that was all the hot takes that you guys sent in. Now I'm going to share some of mine. Okay, so my first hot take is I think Tiny Diamond's unnecessary. Here's the thing, I never will understand why Tiny Diamond was even a character in the first place. Don't get me wrong, Tiny Diamond is actually kind of funny sometimes. However, they decided to make a whole new character, but they already have a character similar to him, you know, Guy Diamond. Imagine how fun it would have been if Guy Diamond went with Poppy and Branch on their adventure with the Rosen brothers. I feel like that would have been like such a fun time. And besides, it's not like Guy Diamond isn't an already popular enough character. I mean, when you look at the whole Trolls lineup, he's one of the more aesthetically pleasing Trolls. I mean, they all are, because I mean, look at them. But I mean, in terms of like being unique, because he is a full-on glitter troll. Like, he's already super fun to look at. And based on his personality, at least what the little we know about it, because if you watch the shows, you would know, he seems like a really fun and pompous character. Like, it would have been fun to at least see that being played out in the movies. So you made an entirely new character when you could have just, you know, stick to the other character that looks almost exactly like the character you made. Like, it's super weird. I never really understood that whole thing. Alright, so number 2 is, I don't know if it's really a hot take now that I think about it, but I might as well bring it up. Bridget and Gristle, and I think the Bergens in general, are pretty underrated characters. Yes, they were kind of done and over with in the first movie, and at least we get to see a little bit more of Bridget and Gristle in this recent third movie, and, you know, seeing them get married, which again, good for them. But I feel like the story could really use a little bit more of the Bergens, especially when it comes to the Bergens' now newfound relationship with the Trolls, and that they're not eating them anymore. Especially now that Viva's in the picture and seeing how much the Bergens really affected the Trolls, like, we can see like more stories develop from that, and I feel like it would be pretty interesting. And Bridget and Gristle are overall pretty cool characters. Not the most interesting characters, but I really like their inclusion just because I feel that they can be fun characters at times, especially when it comes to them in the Trolls. Especially with Bridget and Poppy's friendship, which has always been a very underrated friendship to me. Their friendship can be really sweet and wholesome, admittedly, and, you know, I'd like to see more of that, just for the funs of it, or whatever the writers can really think about when it comes to the Bergens in their next future movies. Number 3, and the final hot take, which I also don't know if it's much of a hot take, but I might as well bring it up considering how much the fandom likes to fantasize about this aspect of the Trolls franchise. But in my opinion, when a new Trolls film comes out, I'm more excited of the original songs that they have in store for us as opposed to the covers that they make. I know, I guess the general consensus of Trolls is that it's a jukebox musical and people don't really like that. And I'm not one of those people where I'm all like, ugh, I hate jukebox musicals. Which I don't know if that's very surprising for any of you, because I do make some little musical references throughout my videos. If anybody has catched on to that, you're awesome. But when it comes to, I guess, the Trolls soundtrack lineup, it's the original songs that really have me excited for. It's All Love, Can't Stop the Feeling, Perfect for Me, basically all the Brozone songs, especially Better Place and Family. Shout out to the demo version. These songs just so happen to be my favorites of the franchise, and the reason why I even bring this up is because I see lots of people in the fan base especially like to fantasize of what covers that they want to see the trolls sing in future movies. Even in my comment section, people would often say what songs they want to hear the trolls sing in future movies. And while I get, you know, predicting what kind of songs would be featured in the next few movies, and it can be fun at times, but what I really am excited for is just their original songs, because I feel like the songwriters overall have a very good idea of what the Trolls franchise is, and they implement that pretty well in the songs that they make. Very upbeat, very happy, and overall a very good time. So those are all the hot takes that I have today. Hopefully you all enjoyed. I certainly had fun reading these hot takes and thinking up of my own. And I overall really like seeing what you guys have to say about the Trolls franchise, because it's been a while since I really talked about it. So I feel like this was the perfect video to get that ball rolling again. So tell me what you guys think about these hot takes. You agree with them? Disagree with them? Let me know in the comments. And if you feel so inclined to do so, comment more of your hot takes. I don't know if I'm making another video of hot takes in the future, but it's fun to see what you guys have in store anyways, so go ahead and go nuts with your hot takes. Anyways, this is the Winged Unicorn, and I have to fly away now. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!